Lupa in the K-pop community must be slightly adjacent because this character has given birth to some of the craziest fan cams I've ever seen in my life. Maybe it's just that Kuro Games gave her some of the most satisfying angles and facial expressions in the entire game, or maybe we're just really down bad. But one thing's for certain, she could fix me. There's 1,001 things to learn about Lupa, but today I'm only going to teach you like 3 of them. Her best build, teams, and how to play her. And that last one isn't even super necessary for reasons you'll find out later in the video. But until then, my name is Braxophone, but you can call me Brax, and let's talk about Lupa. Lupa, despite having 40 different versions of every single attack in her kit, is actually probably one of the easiest characters we've ever had to play, except for maybe like Sanhua, who takes up your screen for literally 3 seconds. I guess when we were playing through the 2.4 story and Lupa was fighting alongside us, that was Kuro's way of showing us her kit, because she literally plays herself automatically. In her kit, she has a basic attack combo, a basic attack into mid-air attack combo, a regular mid-air attack combo, a heavy attack combo, transitions between every other combo, a skill, a second skill, an enhanced skill, an enhanced second skill, an enhanced basic and heavy attack combo, an enhanced mid-air combo, self buffs, team buffs. You probably get the point by now. If you want to see details to all of that, you're going to have to wait just a second, because first I want to talk about her forte. Lupa has 2 different forte bars. I mean, they're the same bar, but they count differently, I guess. Both of them play into each other. When you fill up Lupa's forte bar at least 50% of the way, and heavy attack or mid-air attack 3, she converts her forte to Wolf Faith, which is her way to enhance her skill. Once she has 2 of these bars, she can do an enhanced skill, and if for some reason you have this outside of her ultimate, you're definitely playing her wrong. But if you end up in that situation or aren't following the rotation in this video, make sure to use your stacks of Wolf Faith before you cast her Resonance Liberation, since that's gonna yoink all of the Wolf Faith from you anyways. It's also the biggest concerto gain in her kit, so you don't want to miss it. But speaking of her liberation, I'll go over her liberation in just a second, but first, I need to tell you about all the things you will not ever think about. First off, Lupa can sprint extra fast. Wow, very cool. And on top of that, her regular, not enhanced skill has a kill reset that you're probably never going to use, unless...
Are you not entertained?
Her basic attacks have multiple different combo strings. For example, if you want, when you do your basic attack combo, wait for this white circle to appear and you can do a mid-air attack instead of a grounded basic attack. But I'm gonna be honest, that's just one of many things you can do, and there's an in-game tutorial that will teach you her 78 different combos better than I will. I highly recommend playing through that. And now that you've learned all of the combos, it's time to literally throw all of that out the window. Lupa is incredibly complex, and because of that, the game decided to hold your hand like it's Pokemon Sun and Moon. When you use Lupa's Resonance Liberation, she turns the game on autopilot. Your new strongest combo becomes left click, etc. until her skill lights up, and then you skill, and then she goes to grab another energy drink. When you ult with Lupa, she gets an enhanced skill called Foe Breaker, except you don't even have to press skill because it's also activated with her basic attack button. You know what else is activated by basic attack? Literally everything else. Once your forte is full in her ult, you skill twice for the style points, and that's about it. That's how you wrap up her Resonance Liberation and her field time. But if we go back to the start of when you use her Resonance Liberation, Lupa buffs attack and fusion damage against bosses for your team. And for every intro skill cast up to 3, that buff will increase. She's like Shorekeeper for Brant and Changli teams, where she'll give you the ability to dodge everything without actually hitting dodge. You still take damage, but you can hit dodge counters or continue combos. And finally, Brant can stay in the air without getting hit by 54 anti-air missiles. Her buff also lasts for 35 seconds, making her pretty good for bossing and very good with fusion teams. Triggering intro skills is important because it's going to get you those buff enhancements, and on top of that, Lupa has a giga enhanced intro skill at intro 3, with multipliers crazy enough to make the Threnodian wish it could change spawn points. Her enhanced intro skill will remove her team-wide buff, but you can just get it again. It comes free with the $300 character. Lupa's second inherent skill is what gives her skill a reset if the enemy is defeated by her second hit. But the thing is, It's honestly not super useful at all. The more useful part of her second inherent skill is that every fusion resonator in the team increases fusion res ignore. And when there are 3 fusion resonators, it gets another 6% buff, meaning that your team will get a free 15% fusion res ignore, further increasing that team's damage. Now to summarize, Lupa is a character that plays around her Resonance Liberation, and her Resonance Liberation is basically all left clicks. She also buffs in a way similar to Shorekeeper, and replaces Shorekeeper in the Changli Brant teams typically. When writing this, I put off finishing this section so long that it might even rival how long you procrastinated farming for Lupa. I know what you are. And honestly, maybe we have even more in common than either of us thought. That's why I also know that you're very cool and love pineapple on pizza, but also that you're about to hit the subscribe button right below this video. I'll go ahead and wait for you. Just real quick, go ahead and hit that button. I knew you were a real one. Oh, also, level Lupa's Liberation, Forte Circuit, and Intro skill. Her basic attacks and skill can come last. If you're someone who has RuneScape running on the other screen while you play games, this is the closest a character on Wuthering Waves will get you to 99 fishing. Lupa is essentially an autoplay character. Her kit looks long and complicated, and I mean, it honestly might even have the most casts in the game. I didn't check, but holy hell, it felt like it. Her kit looks long and complicated, but generally, it's not longer or more complicated than your last relationship. But I'm gonna be so real. Half of her kit is not necessary for 99% of her gameplay and damage. So how do you play her? Well, typically she plays on a team with your husband and Changli. Their team never struggled with content before, but they weren't really on par with other top teams under a standard rotation. And now with Lupa, the Changli Brant team finally has the missing puzzle piece to make it hollow purple the Thundering Memphis. If you don't have Brant or Changli, you can typically replace either with Encore or Shorekeeper. Encore actually got 2 feet taller with this team because the auto dodge from Lupa means that her combos are much easier to keep up. Basically, if Encore before was a coughing baby, new Encore is a hydrogen baby. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be going over the rotation with the optimal Lupa Changli Brant team. Keep in mind that there are variants to this rotation that can perform better in the right hands, but this should net you the highest consistent damage on Lupa if you're not quick swapping. If you're interested in learning detailed Brant and Changli rotations, I have guides on those characters as well. For this team, start off with Changli and skill into her ultimate, and then Forte. And during the Forte animation, swap back to Lupa to skill. Then you can quickly go back to Changli to get her Forte stack from the skill that you just used, just to make sure things flow smoother later. Then back to Lupa, and here's the rotation continued. Immediately go into Lupa's ultimate, then enhanced skill, which puts you into midair, then midair attack 1 and 2, enhanced midair attack 3, then heavy attack, followed by her enhanced skill and outro. Or for the most simplified version for Lupa's field time specifically, she'll E, R, left click, left click, left click, left click, left click, E, next character. The entire rotation is left click after you ult, so just play Lupa until you finish that sequence. Then spend time on Brant and Changli, then back to Lupa with her enhanced intro, then ult and left click spam once again. This is the perfect character for people that don't want to actually learn anything hard, and also for people who are hard. On screen is the full rotation including Brant and Changli, but if I said it all out loud, I think my brain would give up and go back to making decks for Magic the Gathering. Luckily, the next part of learning Lupa is easy too, because we're going to be going over how to build her. Lupa is the literal scientific term for female wolf, or she-wolf. Who said Wuthering Waves didn't have deep lore? But it's also the name of the mythical female wolf who fed Romulus and Remus from her breast. Arsinosa has an echo you can farm, and it's the new to 2.4 4-cost Lioness of Glory, which is an AoE echo that dishes out solid damage, but also gives you a big fusion damage and Resonance Liberation damage bonus. Lupa's best set leads with the Lioness of Glory, and the set is called Flaming Clawprint, which gives 10% fusion damage for 2 echoes, and 15% team-wide fusion damage when you use your Resonance Liberation, and 20% more liberation damage bonus to the wearer for 35 seconds with the 5-piece set. It's an amazing support set for Lupa, and makes your Brant and Changli super happy. I don't recommend going 2-2 fusion echo, since it'll hurt your whole team, but it's not a bad substitute while you're farming for the rest of her stuff.
You can also technically use Moonlit Clouds on her to cut down on ER requirements and buff the next character coming in, but I would only recommend that if you're currently working on getting her main set. Or if you're not playing her in fusion teams, which I think would be weird, but you know, you do you.
As for main stats, you want to run 4-3-3-1-1 with crit rate or damage 4 cost, 2 fusion damage 3 costs, and 2 attack 1 costs. For substats, I recommend getting at least 120% energy regen to make rotation smooth, but other than that, you're just going for as much crit rate, crit damage, attack, and resonance liberation damage as possible. Here's a build summary of basically everything in this section. It wasn't very long, but neither is Lupa's rotation. Perfect for people with ADHD and what else was I gonna say? Now this one came as a surprise. If you guys didn't know, for these videos I usually test in multiple teams how the weapons do, but in addition to that, we spreadsheet them. And honestly, this is some pretty great news for free-to-play players that are pulling Lupa in my opinion. News up there with the fact that they didn't nerf any proportions. Lupa's signature weapon, Wildfire Mark, isn't super Omega Giga broken.
It's strong, and like Jacona's weapon, it benefits the entire team. This one gives a team-wide damage bonus.
It also gives Lupa a resonance liberation and attack bonus, and has a crit damage main stat. So overall, it works out to be great, and it'll definitely see some value. But from testing, using her weapon with Brant and Cheng-Li only ended up making about a 9-second difference in clear time, and on our weapon sheet I'll show at the end, it ended up being only about a 15% difference from Lustrous Razor, which is a standard 5-star weapon. The difference is a little less with Ages of Harvest and Verdant Summit, so if you have those, that's great, but it's slightly bigger with the Battle Pass weapon Autumn Trace at R5. Waning Redshift at R5 is the next best, but other than that, all of the 4 stars are pretty close in proximity, with the craftable Broadblade number 41 at R5 being the best 100% free-to-play option. But I do know a fair bit of free-to-play players who do have Lustrous Razor from the early days, maybe if they pulled Gian but didn't get his weapon, and also people who just picked it up over time pulling on the standard weapon banner. Here's a comparison of all the weapons, by the way. Keep in mind that these rankings can change based on your playstyle and the content. We finally arrived at the whale part of the video, which begs the question, if you think Lupa's hot, are you a furry? Lupa is a dog girl. She sniffs you the second that you meet, and even has a big floofy tail to show for it. People have been classified as furries for less, but let's consult the furry chart. If we take a look over here, it actually looks like Lupa does not cross the furry line. This chart's 100% accurate, by the way, thus making you not a furry, even if you whale Lupa. And I promise you, this is the most scientific method. Anyways, here's what our copies do. First off, Lupa's S1 gives a massive 20% crit rate buff and also a bonus 10 energy whenever she uses her Resonance Liberation. It also makes her an enhanced skill immune to interruptions despite being in the air. Her S2 is essentially a 20% fusion damage buff that can stack up to a total of 40% for every single character in the team, just for using her kit naturally, like her Liberation or Forte heavy attacks. Her S3 increases her intro skill's big multiplier even further, and her Resonance Liberation buff from her inherent skill gets even better. With this sequence, you can instantly get 15% Fusion Resignor when you use her Liberation, regardless of the amount of Fusion Resonators in the team, which makes her teams a bit more flexible. Personally, I would have preferred if this made it all-type Resignor, but it is what it is. Her S4 increases her final enhanced skill from Wolfaith's multiplier by 125%, which is a massive buff to her overall, since she'll use it a lot. S5 is a 10-second 15% Liberation damage buff whenever you cast her intro skill, and E6 is basically just a bunch of word vomit that says that thing dies. Important Forte circuit, Liberation, and skill moves ignore 30% of defense, which is massive. Hitting her regular skill gives her max Forte, her enhanced skill is replaced with her ult enhanced skill, and her intro skill no longer ends her buffs. Basically, if you can think of a problem with Lupa's kit, S6 ends it. But if you want to see a comparison of sequence notes for Lupa, this is sort of what it looks like. Overall, her S4's gain is pretty dang strong, and sometimes even beats out S6. If you're wondering if you should go for her weapon or sequence nodes, you should save for our glorious Queen Yuno.